Okay, hi there, students. I thought I would give this little tutorial here in order to help people understand and apply analysis. And whenever you hear analysis, maybe you get that kind of and then you shut off, because it sounds scary, but it actually isn't. In fact, I'm going to use a example of a movie review. And yes, a movie review is an analysis, but you can apply the same techniques even if you're talking about the life of a paramecium or the election cycle in Swedish politics. It all is the same. So let's go ahead and begin. And what I'd like to do is use the example of Hunger Games. Now, if someone just comes up and asks you, hey, what's the Hunger Games all about? You could answer and say, well, it's about a woman armed with a bow and an arrow who has to fight against other teenagers in a life and death struggle, which is televised to rich people who live in Capital City. That gives you a very brief overview. It would be something like you'd have on the back of a DVD box, okay? Or Blu-ray, whatever. But that is not analysis. It's descriptive, okay? It gives you a basic plot. And not even a plot. It doesn't tell you why she's out there. It doesn't tell you if she's the good person fighting or the bad person. You don't know that. You just assume it. So, first of all, first rule of analysis is if you are analyzing the movie Hunger Games, you do not do a review that is 3/4 descriptive. Okay? Because how many of you actually want to read a movie review that just tells you, okay, this happens here, and then this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. You don't want to read that. And it's not really getting deep. It's just giving you kind of a Wikipedia sort of, these are the facts. Okay? And if you read the criteria for analysis, that's not enough. So, you should include some sort of description. Otherwise, you got a gal with a bow and arrow. What? Is this the female version of Robin Hood? Okay? You got to have some sort of description, but that means going into a lot more detail. Okay, so some of the things you want to do is present who is being presented in the first place. Okay, that's easy. In the movie, it's a young woman named Katniss Everdeen. Okay? Now you know kind of who she is. What's the situation? Well, it's the world after a war between, pretty much it sounds like, the elites and the have-nots. And the elites win. Okay? They win. And then what's the situation? Well, after this victory that the elites have, then they live in luxury in a place called Capital City. And they have televised sports in order to entertain their people, but also to put the people in their place in the other region. Now, why is this all important to note? Well, first of all, you have to have a reason why this hero who starts her quest actually starts a rebellion. So when you're talking about Katniss Everdeen and going out and, fighting, you have to describe why she is taken from her normal environment and suddenly thrown into this arena sport in which she has to kill other people on television, essentially. Why does she have to do that? And then what happens? Okay, now you've got the description that's important, but now's where the subtleties come in of analysis. You have to be able to say what happens because she is able to gain the adoration, not only of the people that she comes from, but also the people in Capital City. She starts to become a hero even in their eyes. Why is that? Because she is presenting herself in such a way that they build an emotional tie to her. They start identifying with her emotions as she starts this relationship, not only with a little girl who eventually is killed, but also with this one guy. Can't remember his name, sorry. Okay, see, I saw all the movies, but I'm not so good at remembering names. That's not so important when it comes to analysis, though. And so ultimately, what are the results? Well, first of all, she gains a sense of power in which she is able to solidify the opposition to the people who are controlling and manipulating the society. And then you start applying this information if you want an analysis. You start talking about such things as the elite power structure depends on these games, and then you list the reasons why the elite power structure both benefits financially, but also in the sense of establishing their power, not only against the people who are in the 12 districts, but also their own people within the city, how they're manipulating them. Now, this is where analysis can come in, and you can take several different directions. For one, you can concentrate on the idea perhaps of how this novel turned movie is an indictment of the police state. This is a dystopian movie. It's very similar to 1984 or to Brave New World. Okay? This is where you can bring in connections. Okay? Maybe give a quick, brief description. Don't go into, several pages, but maybe say something about another dystopian masterpiece, such as, for instance, 1984, where the society is ruled by this small elite who manipulate everything around them. Now, what you could do, though, now this would be interesting, is if you can say, did the author mean to make this an indictment against the police state? And then you could bring in things going on nowadays, surveillance, cops that dress up in these outfits when they're dealing with peaceful protesters that look like the peacekeepers in the movie, except the peacekeepers are dressed in white, whereas if you go to the United States and there's maybe some protest on Indian reservation, they come dressed in military fatigues or in black, faceless mask and so forth. Make those kinds of connections and you're doing analysis. Or you could deal with the media and how the media manipulates people. That this is a life and death struggle she's involved with. And then how you get sponsors, how people are watching this like it's some sort of entertainment, but it's a blood sport. In fact, you could even bring out that when she does become a hero, the society, the leaders, President Snow, tries to make her into a hero of his system, trying to integrate her into the system that he has set up, or at least administers, and therefore how that fails. But ultimately, it could deal with, everything from, you get a punk rock group or something that is very anti-establishment. Well, once they start signing those big contracts, they start doing what the big corporations tell them to do. Or it could be our obsession with reality games taken to the extreme. Your Big Brother or X on the Beach, and then just a step a little bit, and pretty soon we're back to the Roman days of gladiator sports. These are things that make analysis. Now, finally, what's very important in a civics course and other courses as well is what are the effects, and you should just integrate these in on the individual, the group, and the society. You could talk about the individual. What is her personality? What does she start out as, and what does she become? Secondly, the group. What is the connection to her family, her sister, her mother, her people that she lives with in her community? And finally, the society, because it ultimately, her actions affect the society at large. Everyone in all the districts as well as capital city. So ultimately, if you tie all these things together, you really are getting on the track of analysis. Get away from Wikipedia, start examining things and trying to find the connections, the applications, and how things work together, and that's what makes that will make your writing way more fun and the people reading it way more interested. That's all now. Take a try.